So we're going to look at setting Camera Mouse up and get it working well with the people that you're working with. So I've got the desktop shortcut for Camera Mouse. Double click on that and it launches. It shows me a list of the webcams that this computer's seen, and I know that the live cam is connected at the moment, so I'll select that one and click OK. And up comes a picture of me coming from the webcam. As I move around, it moves around. And to get Camera Mouse to start following me, you just need to click on a point on your face. It makes sense to click on somewhere that has a really strong visual point, like the corner of your eyebrows there, so that as you move around it tracks it very closely. And after a couple of seconds of not moving the mouse, head mouse will automatically jump in and start controlling it from the camera feed. So as I'm moving my head now, the mouse is moving about. If I move the mouse, so I'm moving the mouse now, it's switched over to mouse control again, and head mouse has stopped tracking. I'm just going to change the point that it's tracking by clicking again, and if I wait for a couple of seconds, Camera Mouse will pick up again, and there you go, it's got it and is moving it about. So when you're choosing a point for tracking, it makes sense to choose somewhere from the centre of the face if you can, so that as the person moves their head, the tracking point doesn't disappear, because if the tracking point goes out of shot of the camera because you're turning your head, then it will lose the tracking point and you'll need to click on it again to get it working. The default settings are fairly good for a fairly small movement of my head, so I'm not having to move it a lot. But if somebody only has very small movements or makes quite big movements, then you'll want to adjust the settings. So to do that, you click on the settings button here, and up comes the window here where you can set all the controls to do with Camera Mouse. The really important ones, in order to make sure that people don't get too tired by having to work too hard to stay still or stretch too far to move stuff, are the horizontal and vertical gain here and smoothing. So horizontal gain and vertical gain translates how much movement your head does to how much movement the mouse does. So by default they're set to medium. If I turn the X one up now to very high, once Camera Mouse kicks in, I'll only need to do a very, very tiny movement to move the mouse all the way from the left to the right hand side of the screen. If I turn it down to low, when Camera Mouse kicks in, I'm going to need to do quite a big movement to get it to move. There's also an auto-calibrate option here for setting stuff. If you choose auto-calibrate, then a red box appears, and you should move your head as far as you're going to move it to try and move towards that red box. So you shouldn't stretch, and you shouldn't try to go too far, and it will work out what that means in terms of the calibration settings, and then it will move around the screen doing a box at the top. So now I need to move to the height that I would go to if I was moving up. A box to the side, that's how much movement I want to use, and then in a second a box to the bottom. And so once it's done that, it works out what settings it needs to set them to, and there you go, it's set them automatically. So my vertical gain has been set to extreme because I didn't move my head up and down very much, and the horizontal gain has been set to medium because I moved my head from side to side quite a bit more. If those auto-calibration settings don't work for you, you can go in and carry on changing them, so you don't have to accept what it works out. Smoothing gets rid of wobbles. So at the moment when I'm moving around, if I let Camera Mouse pick up the mouse again, you can see that the mouse is wobbling quite a bit, and if I try and point at a button, it's really quite hard. Smoothing makes the mouse wobble about less. So now once it picks up, it's not wobbling as much. I've got it vertical gain set on extreme, so it's actually very hard for me to hold it still. Let me turn that down a bit, but you'll see that the mouse is wobbling around much less. There you go, so I can happily get it to sit over that button, which is what I need to do. And setting the gain and smoothing is really critical to making sure that somebody's able to use it comfortably. It means they don't get as tired while they're using it, and they're able to control stuff well. Reversing horizontal movement just flips stuff over, depending on where your camera is and how that works. You might need to do that. Clicking gives you the option to set a dwell so that when you hold over a button it will click for a moment. So I've selected clicking, it's going to do it after 1 second, and it's going to play a clicking sound when it does. So I'm going to go to the setting buttons there, and you hear the click. That was it selecting that. So there we go. Now it's good to set that to a fairly low time so that it clicks quite quickly, but if you set it too low it means that the mouse will be clicking all over the place, like it is just there, and you may end up triggering all kinds of things that you don't want to. The exclude box here gives you the option to not let camera mouse take the mouse into certain parts of the screen. So I'm going to exclude the bottom 10% of the screen. What that means now is when camera mouse picks up, I'll try and go down and the mouse has stopped now. No matter I'm moving my head further down, it's not going any lower. So there's no way that I can get down to the control bar at the bottom to click on the start menu or to play about with the stuff in the system tray on the right hand side. So it can be really useful to stop somebody from navigating away into the depths of the system if you don't want them to be able to do that. And the default setting here, after 4 seconds of mouse not moving, then camera mouse will begin. You can also press the control key to make it start straight away, which I just did then. Press the control key again, it goes off. So you can toggle it on and off, or it automatically picks up, and you can deselect any one of those. You can also get it to play a sound so that you know that camera mouse has clicked in and taken over. Auto center on begin control means that when camera mouse starts, the mouse moves to the center of the screen. So if we leave it sitting up in the top right at the moment, once camera mouse came in, it just jumps into the center there. That can be really helpful for people if they struggle to see where the mouse is. It will always end up in the middle of the screen. Because it was set to 1 second clicking, you see it clicked all over the place then, and I didn't really want it to. So we're happy with all those settings. We're now ready to go. So I'm going to make the window smaller so that I'm not distracted as much, and then I'm going to launch Heads Up for Windows, and away we go. I'm going to choose that I'm on a head tracker. I want all these things on. I'm going to stay anonymous, and I'm going to do all the tests. So here we are.